Welcome back to Studio F on Fast Time Willy B. We'll be reviewing here. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell!
Welcome back to Fast Time Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Rosie back. Rosie, how we doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing good.
Awesome.
So today we'll be reviewing here the latest movie from Robert Zemeckis. Obviously we know and love him as the guy that brought us the Back to the Future trilogy, brought us Forrest Gump, and he has a reunion going on here as he gets Tom Hanks and Robin Wright back for this one, also starring Paul Bettany. For Marvel fans out there that know him as Vision, amongst many other roles he's taken on and done fairly well in. But we'll start with the good. And I want to start by saying this is a very interesting movie.
To say the least, yeah. I like the idea.
Yeah. So this movie is basically about this one room in this one house, and we see multi-generational family live in this house. This movie starts with the dinosaurs running through this land, and it gets blown up, and obviously by the end of the dinosaurs, and we see the Ice Age, and we see the house start being built in colonial times, and we see the guy that invented the Lazy Boys family living here, and by family I mean him, his wife, and his dog. We see the main family which we follow, which is Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and their whole family. Paul Bettany actually starts that family. They buy the house right after the war, and we see their whole family grow up into it, and then you get little snippets of present day where this family that's battling against COVID, you can see that is living in the house. And so very interesting nonetheless to see all of these different generations, and the camera never moves, and I'm going to put that in something that I liked.
Yeah. Obviously
there's no flashy camera movement or anything like that because the camera literally never moves, but
not till the last second. The last second of the movie.
But I liked it. I liked the way they transitioned things with a little frame popping up over some item and changing it to the next set they're going to, and then kind of a blur effect goes in and morphs that little frame into the whole screen.
Right.
And I thought that was cool and unique, and honestly the set design, I thought,
it was fabulous. Stunning.
Every generation we got to meet, the room looked the time.
You could tell right off the bat what generation, what time frame, what you could tell. The one I liked the most was the early 2000s vibe. You could definitely catch that from all of them. Were stunning.
Yeah, with Paul Bettany and his family of Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, who are his kids in this movie, believe it or not. Tom Hanks is, Robin Wright marries Tom Hanks, but nonetheless, that family, we get to live with them from basically the 50s through the 2000s, which is really cool. And we get to end the movie with them as well. We also get this pilot that it seems like the time is around when the airplane was first, becoming a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And
they're talking about going on the flight.
And, his wife's scared he's going to die from flying, and he dies of the influenza. So, the time period is what time period it is just from that alone.
Yeah.
And they're wearing masks and that, so we get to see a lot of masks as we get to see the bounce back between COVID and the flu when it was big, and that was all interesting. As somebody who really enjoys history, it was cool getting to see how things bounced around, and a movie really all over the place as far as time frame goes, because you do bounce from present to 70s to colonial back to 90s, and the only story that really moves along is our main family,
right?
And we
that's
see
because they had it over multi-generations.
Yeah,
so you were able to see
we
how
see
they
little
grow.
Ricky, played by Tom Hanks, grow into 18-year-old Ricky, who gets his girlfriend pregnant, and then we see them raise their daughter and become old Ricky, and we see some hardship, we see divorce, we see the deterioration of health, and it really is a movie that kind of makes you think about mortality. And
it's kind of I really enjoyed the story. I knew from watching the trailer, and I've said it about every time I'm on here, that I don't necessarily love movies that jump between time frames.
Yeah.
Just because my peanut brain isn't able to comprehend sometimes. But I think this one did a good job, mostly because there wasn't a lot of, like, story following except for the main family, which was on screen for the most time, so I was able to and obviously with a set design change you can tell like where we're at, and so I was fine with that, but I just loved the story, and it really was interesting because growing up in one house personally, it was kind of cool to see, because eventually there is going to be other people in that house I grew up in, and there's going to be other people in our house that we own together eventually. So, like, I don't know, it's weird to think about other generations and how, like, the life is going to look like in the future, because I mean, the colonial, the people, and when they were building the house, they didn't, everything was so different from back then. So I really liked the story. Unfortunately, I don't have many more good, but the story was definitely really good for me. I enjoyed it a lot.
Other things I'd put in the good, the acting, I didn't, obviously, I mean, you know what you're going to get from Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and you know what you're going to get from Paul Bettany, and a lot of the other supporting characters did a great job as well.
Oh, yeah.
I also really liked, I mean, I mentioned the set design with the costume as well.
Oh, yeah.
It also matched the times for it, in which it was living.
Oh, yeah.
And then, as far as other good goes, there is some times where it can be pretty funny. There was some good comedy mixed in there, and some good drama mixed in there too. I mean, the ending I'd put in the good just because obviously I can relate to it a little bit given what happened this year, and it got me. I mean, I was crying.
Yeah, it was definitely a movie where you felt all the emotions. Yeah, for sure.
But like you said, we can hop over to the meh. The major meh for me is I wish. I like how we focused on one family, but I wish some of the families got a little more. I don't think we learned enough or got to know the most modern family, really.
Yeah, I think
there's like probably 3 or 4 cutaway scenes for them.
Yeah, I wish we would have learned more about them, and
then I would say
the ones that invented the lazy boy.
I thought we got enough of the lazy boy. I thought we got enough of the flight people. I thought we got enough of obviously the main family because they were the main story.
Right.
I wish we got a little more of the like indigenous people.
Like living on the land before the house was even built.
We see them pregnant, get a necklace, dead. Like that's basically it.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably a harder story to tell because there's the language barrier and
there's no house to be living in. They're just really like fending off the land.
But if you're gonna feature them and the modern family, I feel like you should at least give a little more.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely an underplay to those two stories, in my opinion.
The modern family was brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
Like them sitting down to have that conversation with their son. That was like, I was not expecting that at all to pop up in this. But those are the conversations that happen in households these days.
Yeah.
So it was pretty true to the time frame. So.
The other meh I have is probably the pacing.
Okay.
I think this movie was kind of all over the place in pacing.
Oh, yeah.
There was moments where we were moving along and I was really getting into it, and there were just moments that were really slow. Overall, for a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes, it felt way longer. And you never want to feel that way about a movie. You never want to feel like,
unfortunately not, no.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
So I put the pacing in the meh, 'cause there were moments where it felt well paced and we were jumping around between things, and there were moments where it was too fast too, like at the beginning when we're really jumping around and establishing all these generations, I feel like it is kind of all over the place and rushed a little bit, and then it slowed down a little bit too much. So I'd probably put it in the meh. I didn't think it was horrible, but it definitely was not well paced by any means.
No, I would agree. Maybe I feel like this would be one like if it was a little bit longer, it would have been okay because then you would have like the other meh you had was learning about some more parts. So an extra, make it 2 hours I
100% disagree.
No? I feel
this
like
movie
if
should
you
have
would
been shorter and time should have been allotted differently, in my opinion.
All right.
If a movie that's an hour and 44 feels too long, why would I make it longer?
I don't know, because if you get the extra little bit from the other families.
This is a 90-minute movie.
All right.
I mean, if the camera's not moving once, it's a 90-minute movie.
Oh, that's true.
But, yeah, the pacing I'd put in the meh. That's probably really it for me in the meh. I'd probably say the last few things I have are in the bad.
Okay.
So we'll hop over to the bad, and that's where I put a good chunk of the CG. There's de-aging used in this movie via, Tom Hanks.
Right.
And Robin Wright. And I didn't think Tom Hanks looked all that horrible. There were moments where Tom Hanks, I was like, man, that looks like Forrest Gump Tom Hanks. It looked good. Robin Wright, I don't think her CG looked good at all. I think it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. And I feel like it's because we got a lot more close-ups of her.
Yeah, like the camera zooms in on her face.
Which allowed us to kind of see that there's definitely flaws in the CG. Whereas Tom Hanks had a lot more distant shots as Ricky.
Right.
And the older he gets, the closer he got to the camera. I feel like we didn't really see Tom close to the camera until he got older. And so maybe that's what made me feel that way. But it's not just with the de-aging process either. We get this reoccurring or this revisiting, mockingbird.
The hummingbird.
The hummingbird, yeah. And it's doesn't look good either.
No, not at the end, because you see it at the end. That's when I really noticed it. Because at the beginning, it's in the forest, and you were looking at kind of all the other things. But you could really notice it at the end. It looked like it was, really photoshopped in there. You could tell, it would... I don't know. Because you have to, see it for yourself to, know what I'm talking about. Because, the vines were wrapped on the chimney of the one house as they're zooming out. And the little hummingbird comes in and drinks from the flower or whatever. But it really... I've never seen a really bad Photoshop. You can just tell that it wasn't meant to be there or supposed to be... It looked like that. It was...
Yeah, it wasn't good.
And it's that's the last shot that you see before the credits start rolling. So you really should make sure it looks really good. But it unfortunately did not. No.
Yeah. That's really the only major bad I have. I mean, there's things that I could probably nitpick for the meh and bad. But like I said, it's... We've seen how people are reacting to it. It's not... There's some decent reviews, but there's a lot of negative reviews. And I get it. I 100% get it, especially when you're talking the CG and pacing. I would say the two biggest, flaws in this film. But I found a lot to like with a good amount of the story. I think it relating to my life.
Right.
And, what I've had to deal with on a personal level this year. I think that also added an element that probably allowed me to enjoy it a little more just because it had a stronger emotional pull for me. And I still, like I said, I enjoyed our one-shot camera angle, and I enjoyed, the transitions enough to you say, that I don't think this movie's all bad. I can find things I like about it. Was there anything that you had in the bad, other than the CG?
I don't think necessarily... I think most of my stuff was in the meh.
Okay.
I don't think anything necessarily bad except for that very last shot. I didn't really like that one at all. But I don't think I have anything to add to the bad.
Okay. So hop over to our final thoughts and ratings. What do you want to leave off with here, and what do you give it out of 10?
I'm going to leave off by mentioning towards the end, I like how they finally flipped the camera. Yeah. And you can see kind of more of the first floor of the house and how they zoom out of that big picture window. Then you finally get to see the house.
And you get the quote.
In question, right.
this was our home. This is where we lived here, or something like that.
Yeah.
He says here.
Yes.
We lived here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I liked it, and I liked how it kind of drew back to the beginning as they're showing the house up for sale.
Yeah.
And they kind of it's like a full circle moment, which I enjoyed. But I really just liked, except for the CG at the end with the little hummingbird, but I liked how you were able to then finally see the house at the end.
Yeah.
Rating?
Yeah.
Let's see. I didn't really have much in the bad. I don't know. It doesn't have a huge rewatch value, and in my brain, when I'm thinking of how to score a movie, the rewatch value kind of definitely is kind of how I give my score. So unfortunately, I'm going to go middle of the road for this one and give it a 5.
Okay. For me, I think the ending inflated my score a little bit, just because it had that emotional pull for me.
Right.
I was probably sitting around a 5 throughout most of the movie, but I'm just going to land on a 6. I'll say it wasn't good, but it was decent.
Yeah.
It was decent.
For sure.
I had a good enough time with the story and jumping across generations and the set design and like everything from that standpoint was amazing. I would just say that this movie could have been so much better if they maybe just cast somebody to play, young adult Ricky, middle-aged Ricky, and then...
Yeah.
But I get it.
Yeah, it's hard to find that perfect lookalike.
You wanted the reunion.
Yeah.
You could have used his son, but...
No, that's fair.
Nonetheless, I still had a good enough time with it. I don't know if it's a movie I'd highly recommend to anybody, but if you're looking for a unique, just artistic standpoint from a movie, go check it out. If you're looking for a Forrest Gump reunion, check it out. If you're just a fan of Bobby Zemeckis, check it out.
Definitely unlike most of all of his other works. So.
But this isn't going to be for everybody, for sure.
Definitely not.
That's what I'll leave off with here.
Okay.
That'll do it for here, Rosie. Thank you for coming on.
Always
Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, please check out some of these other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. As always, we appreciate anything, and we will talk to you all soon. Peace.
Peace and love.